I am yours, I am yours, I am yours. Send me, Lord. I am yours, I am yours, I am yours.
Welcome to the Gospel-Centered Pro-Life Podcast, a podcast designed to equip, encourage, and challenge you in pro-life ministry, and always with a focus on the gospel. Stay tuned.
I felt your passion, I've touched your heart.
Use me, Lord, use me, Lord.
Welcome back to the Gospel-Centered Pro-Life Podcast. Appreciate you guys joining us. I am Daniel Parks. I serve as the Regional Shepherd for the West Coast for Love Life and also as the Director of our Sidewalk Outreach Ministry. I'm joined, as always, by Vicky. Say
Hey there, everybody. How are you?
Good.
I am the Sidewalk Training Director.
Yes, you are.
As well as a Sidewalk Outreach person, team member here in Charlotte.
Yeah.
Been doing that about 11 years almost.
Yeah, and the Lord has given us the gift of being able to serve alongside Him in the sidewalk ministry that is near and dear to our hearts.
Yes.
And that's why we do these podcasts, because we've been doing this for a while, and we feel like what we've learned, what the Lord has taught us through this ministry, we can help you guys to learn and encourage you guys as well. And normally, these podcast episodes are really hyper-focused on sidewalk outreach ministry, but from time to time, we deviate from that and we talk about other things, but almost always they tie in. I don't want to say almost
They're
always.
related. They're always
Yeah,
related
yeah.
in some way to what we do.
They always tie
Like this
into
topic is
sidewalk
very
outreach.
related in what we do.
Yeah. So what we're going to be talking about today is something we've mentioned several times in several podcasts over the past 2 years probably, and that's House of Refuge.
Right.
We've talked about House of Refuge churches. We've talked about how it's helpful to have House of Refuge churches in your cities. You guys that are familiar with Love Life are familiar, hopefully, with what a House of Refuge church is. If you're not, by the end of this episode, you'll be familiar, and you'll understand why these House of Refuge churches are important, and understand how, if your church is not a House of Refuge church, how you can get them on board to become a House of Refuge church. So, yeah, let's jump into it.
Well, I want to start with there is a wonderful event going on right now where we are trying to raise 1,000 new nationwide House of Refuge churches, and that's Life Ride, which is a pastor riding across the country, 3,400 miles, Pastor Jay Stewart, and with two main goals: raise $1 million to help equip the church, and then in ending the abortion and orphan crisis, and secondly to raise House of Refuge churches nationwide. Really, really important goal for all of us on the sidewalk. We want to be able to help women choose life, but we can't possibly be the ones that then help them from that point forward.
Yeah.
And we totally depend on the church, and specifically on the House of Refuge churches to take over where we leave off.
Yeah. One of the things that we've said from the very beginning as an organization, and this is something that I have been saying since I've been involved in ministry when I was with Cities for Life and now into Love Life, is that ministry should flow out of the local church. Mm-hmm. We're a parachurch ministry that actually believes that parachurch ministries shouldn't be a thing.
Right.
Ministry should flow out of the local church. Now, we're blessed to be a parachurch ministry, a ministry to the churches, not just one church. And, I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek, right, that parachurch ministries shouldn't exist. They're a necessary component in modern Christianity, I guess.
At least in the initial stages. The hope is that we'll be out of a job at some point.
Exactly. Yeah. In more ways than one, right? We hope that abortion will come to an end, and that we won't have to be at these abortion centers and reaching out and doing prayer walks and all the other things. But also, before that happens, we would hope that the churches in a city take ownership of the issue of abortion in their city, and they start covering the sidewalks. And heck, we'll train them and whatever, but if they take it over and they want to run with it, praise God, right?
Exactly.
So that's the heart behind the ministry of Love Life, and that really is the heart behind House of Refuge. This is a way in which we can equip local churches to take ownership of the issue of abortion, not just in their city, but actually even in their congregation.
Right.
The reality is that many, especially here in the South, but I would say across the board, many of the abortions that are taking place from people that are attending our churches.
Yep.
Like that's a reality. I think the statistic is about 40% of women that have an abortion said that they were in an evangelical church within a month of their abortion.
Yeah, tragic.
Yeah.
Tragic statistic. And I would say from my experience on the sidewalk here in Charlotte, at least 90% of the women that I talk to tell me that they love Jesus and they believe in the Lord.
Yeah.
They've submitted their lives to him. And yet they apparently are either ignoring or not getting teaching from the church regarding the issue of the sanctity of life and abortion.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a reality.
Yeah.
It's something that we face, something that we see city after city.
Yeah.
We hear from pastors and from church leaders that don't talk about abortion because they feel like if they do, there's people in their congregation that have abortion in their past, and they'll rip open wounds that are already healed, or they'll be seen as being political or whatever. And so, and of course, all of that's just not the reality, right? Abortion is not a political issue. I mean, homelessness is a political issue, but people aren't afraid to talk about that. You know, in a
Right.
sense, like
Yeah.
everything is political in a sense.
Yeah.
But House of Refuge and the whole House of Refuge initiative is a way to say, you know, this is not about being political or whatever. This is about you standing as a place where men and women can run to instead of running to the abortion center.
Yeah.
I mean, the ultimate vision with this thing is if we have 1,000 House of Refuge churches, there'll be more churches in the United States of America saying you can come to us rather than going to the abortion center than there are abortion centers.
Yeah.
There's about 700 or so freestanding abortion centers. That doesn't include hospitals that do abortions and things like that. But the freestanding abortion centers, if we have 1,000 House of Refuge churches, we'll have them outnumbered. And again, men and women run to these churches rather than to the local abortion center. That's the heart behind this whole thing.
Yeah. And it becomes, I think, increasingly important as with the aftermath of Roe v. Wade being overturned, because now there's, pills by mail
Yeah.
and areas where we're not going to be able to reach them on the sidewalk,
Yeah.
but they're still attending church,
Sure.
many of them. And this is, the vital role of the church in educating and equipping these women and helping these women.
Yeah.
But maybe you can talk about how, what is it? Define the House of Refuge Church and kind of what it's all about in very general terms.
Yeah. Well, before I get into that, though, I want to mention, too, and this is why it's important that we have House of Refuge churches across the nation, not just in cities where abortions are taking place, in states where abortions are taking place. I mean, abortions are taking place in all of our states, just so you guys know. Even though it might be illegal, they can still get the abortion pill, and there's all kinds of ways that people can have abortions. And they're going, and this is why I wanted to mention this, they're going to places like Charlotte, right? They're going to places like Albuquerque, New Mexico. They're going to places like Southern California, Northern California, from these states where abortions are limited. I mean, we see people here in Charlotte from Tennessee all the time.
Yeah,
from
saw someone from Texas today.
Yeah, from Texas.
Florida, yeah.
So we need houses of refuge in these states like Texas and Tennessee and others, Idaho, where abortions maybe are not taking place at abortion centers, but they're coming to cities where they are and where our sidewalk teams are. And so when a mom chooses life who's from Texas or Tennessee, how amazing is it that we can get on the phone with that House of Refuge representative and say, we have a mom that just chose life. We want to plug her into your church. That's what we want, right?
Yeah.
We want the House of Refuge, and I'm going to talk about it. So what does the House of Refuge thing do, right? What's the effect of it? And I want to point you guys to our website, lovelife.org/refuge. You can just put in refuge, and that'll take you right to the House of Refuge landing page. So here's the vision behind this thing, and it's in 3 Ps here. And so this is, again, on the website. You can prevent, this is what being a House of Refuge will do, will prevent abortions from happening in your congregation. It's a way to do that.
Yeah.
Provide healing for those who are affected by previous abortions, and protect the unborn in your community. Those are the 3 Ps of what it is to be a House of Refuge. Prevent abortions from happening in your congregation, provide healing for those affected by past abortions, and protect the unborn in your community. This essentially, a House of Refuge church is a church that has said, we will stand for life in our community. We will be a place, like I said earlier, where men and women can run to instead of running to the abortion center. We're a, for lack of a better term, safe place. We're a safe haven, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so what happens is, and there's, like 2 simple steps, two easy steps. So we like to make things easy, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And so what is the ask? If you want to become a House of Refuge church, simply the ask is, we ask these 2 things of you, that you read the House of Refuge statement twice a year from the pulpit, whether it's the pastor reading it or, one of the pastors on staff or some leader, maybe even the House of Refuge representative reads it. But we want it to be read from the stage. And we're not dictating to pastors what you do, but we're just saying this is a powerful statement to make in front of your congregation. And we have literally seen babies saved. As a matter of fact, we have a story, Taylor's story, that Josh Kappas, who's our vice president with Love Life, they read the House of Refuge statement one Sunday, and Taylor, a member of their congregation, was there and was pregnant. And because they read that statement, she ended up choosing life and ended up, it's just an amazing story. Ends up getting married to a baby's father.
And we are
totally
going to go
redemptive.
over that statement for you all, but because it's a powerful statement.
Yeah. So we ask that you read the statement twice a year, and that you designate someone to be the House of Refuge rep. That's somebody who basically oversees the House of Refuge ministry within your church. We don't want the pastor leading that. Pastors already have so much going on, but we want him to appoint someone that he trusts to oversee this ministry. And it's kind of like a microcosm of Love Life, like Love Life in a city, for example, here in Charlotte, right? There's a lot to it, right? There's a lot that's going on with Love Life, a lot of components, a lot of things that Love Life touches that when we exist in a particular city. But the House of Refuge initiative is kind of like a microcosm of that happening in an individual congregation.
Yeah, that's true.
And so a lot of the resources and the stuff that we have will be poured into trainings, materials, all that stuff will be poured into and accessible by the House of Refuge rep. So the 2 things are, Pastor, would you read the statement twice a year, and would you designate a rep that we can pour into and that we can encourage? We have regular touches with those reps. And so what I want to do is, actually, I want to read this House of Refuge statement.
Okay.
I remember I was in Southern California. It's probably been a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago at this point. And I was there. This is the first time I've ever seen a pastor read the House of Refuge statement live. Even my church is a House of Refuge, and they've done it. But I've always been out of town when they read the statement. So I've never been there when they read the statement. But I was in Southern California at this particular church that read the House of Refuge statement. And it was so powerful. It was a powerful moment of just seeing a pastor kind of bring his whole congregation. This is the first Sunday they had read the statement. And it was just an opportunity. And I don't know, there was just a sense of the pleasure of the Lord and just this congregation kind of being all in on this thing together that was really impactful for me.
Yeah.
And so this pastor read this statement. And I'll say too, this very pastor that read the statement asked me beforehand, he had a few words in this statement that he said, I'd like to tweak this a little bit. Is this hard and fast? Like we have to read it exactly like I said. Pastor, make it your own. As long as you're not changing the fundamental intent behind the thing, right? You're not changing it to say we support abortion or whatever, right?
Right.
Then make it your own, right? This is about you and your congregation doing this thing together. But I'm going to read you the statement, and I think it's good, so I don't think it needs much tweaking, but people have, tweaked the language, and that's fine. And so, again, this is on that House of Refuge landing page.
Which, by the way, we cite at the end of an article that accompanies this podcast.
Yeah, so I'll read it as if it's my church. Joy Church is a House of Refuge. This applies to everyone in this church or people that need a place of refuge. Here's what we believe. If you find yourself in an unplanned pregnancy, please know that being pregnant is not a sin, and the child you carry is not a punishment. It is a blessing. God is knitting this child in your womb. You may have made a sinful decision that led to this pregnancy, or you may have been sinned against. But we want you to know that you are loved. We will do whatever it takes to help you carry and care for this precious child before and after birth. We can never support or encourage a woman to have an abortion because the child you carry is made in the image of God and is intrinsically valuable and loved by God. You need to know how we will respond. Here's what we won't do. This church family will not gossip about you, shame you, or abandon you. This is a house of refuge. We will not allow for the family of God to harm one another with words or actions contrary to the love of God as revealed in His Word. Here's what we will do. We will do everything in our power to remove whatever obstacles stand in the way of you having this child. There are people in this church ready to mentor you, throw you a baby shower, and connect you with resources inside and outside of the church. We will also hold men accountable for living out their calling to provide and protect women and children. Finally, if you have ever had an abortion in your past, I want you to know that abortion is not an unforgivable sin. Whoever confesses and forsakes their sin finds mercy. If you have never gone through an abortion recovery Bible study, we will be happy to connect you with one so that you can walk in complete healing and freedom.
That's so awesome. And I just remember as a very new Christian, there was a teenage couple that got pregnant out of wedlock.
Yeah.
And I remember the church's response. I remember even at the time thinking, this can't be what God intended. They had the couple come up. I don't know if it was their decision or against their will, if the parents did, but it was very shaming. It definitely was very shaming. That's the feeling I got. And I remember thinking, if that were me, no way would I be going to that church. And this is specifically saying, we will not do that to you.
Yeah. And so this is not a just kind of overlooking sin.
Right.
That's not the intention behind it. But it's also not, let's bring them up in front of everybody and shame them.
Right. Exactly.
You know, this is clearing the air.
Yeah.
Here's what we will do. Here's what we won't do.
Yeah.
We're not going to allow people to gossip about you. Again, men and women, when they find themselves in an unplanned pregnancy situation, don't feel like they can go to their pastor. They don't feel like they can go to anyone, that they can go to anyone in the congregation because of that very thing.
Right.
And so what do? They try to hide their sin by going to an abortion clinic and killing that child.
Yeah.
If we can clear the air and we can say, actually, you can come to us and we will walk with you. And we're not going to kick you out of the church. We're not going to shame you. We're not going to judge you or whatever. Again, it clears the air.
Yeah.
It begins the conversation, right? A lot of times the conversations never begin because the woman decides to run to the abortion center and take care of the problem. I mean, how many times have you heard when you're at the abortion center with men and women saying, I could never tell my pastor. I could never tell my parents. I could never tell. I mean, how would it be if parents even read this statement to their kids?
Yeah.
Or their kids are hearing this statement read at their church. It clears the air. It lets them know that actually, sin is wrong. Sin has consequences. But just like with any sin, if you'll turn to the Lord, we're going to walk with you through it. We're going to walk into a place of healing and restoration.
Right. Yeah, as you were reading, I was thinking, I can't imagine any pastor who would object to this.
Yeah.
To speaking these words in front of their congregation.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we want to encourage all of you guys, get your pastor on board as a House of Refuge. Get your pastor at least to go on this website and check out this landing page and read over that statement. I mean, to me, I get goosebumps even just reading the statement.
Yeah.
And again, clearing the air and just, here's what we will do, here's what we won't do, here's who we are, here's what we stand for. It's just such a powerful way
it is.
to shine light on this subject.
It is. So that's kind of one of the major steps is reading the statement.
Yeah.
More specifically, probably to how it relates to helping the women are the main areas that right now Love Life is helping to train and equip the churches in these main areas, because we do hear a lot. I don't know how to begin from the pastor, from the congregation. I don't know how to begin a sidewalk outreach team or mentors or, how to introduce the idea of foster care and adoption or abortion recovery. So I thought maybe we could talk about what those 4 or 5 main areas.
Yes,
of
4
help
main
and
areas,
training.
4 kind of main pillars of
Yeah.
of ministry. And the first one is sidewalk outreach. You know, if this it can be a little different if they become a house of refuge in an existing Love Life city, because more than likely there's going to be sidewalk outreach teams that are already being built.
Right.
But if you're a House of Refuge church and you're not in an area where Love Life is officially, functioning, you can still do sidewalk outreach under Love Life. If you're a House of Refuge, you can still get access to all of our trainings, all 3 training modules, and even be able to attend the monthly Q&E meeting that we do for all the sidewalk people. Again, the House of Refuge kind of becomes a microcosm of Love Life in a city, but it just exists in a local church. And this is happening in is happening essentially in Orange County with a church there, Calvary Chapel East Anaheim, they're doing monthly prayer walks at their local Planned Parenthood, and then their sidewalk outreach teams. Many of those team members are part of that church. There's some others that are part of other churches, but a lot of that's happening under that church as a House of Refuge church.
Yeah. Now, obviously, there would not be a sidewalk outreach component in a state where there's no abortions.
Yeah, of course.
Or where there's no at least legal abortions happening in abortion centers where you could be on the sidewalk. You can still be a House of Refuge if in your state there are no abortions. And in fact, we need House of Refuge in those states because oftentimes those people are coming to our states.
And
then
we
returning
mentioned that
to
earlier.
their home state. Yeah.
So, so that's so just to say plainly, all of the different training components and training modules that we have, the House of Refuge representative would have access to.
Right.
So the next thing is mentoring. And this is kind of, to me, the main thing. Like sidewalk outreach can happen under a House of Refuge church, and there are cities where it does, and it's amazing. But really, to me, mentoring is the main thing that these House of Refuge representatives can pour themselves into, is building a pool of mentors so that, again, especially in states where there's not abortions taking place or there's not abortion clinics or whatever, like Texas and Tennessee and whatnot.
Yeah.
If we have a House of Refuge church that within their church they have 5 to 10 people that are ready to mentor a mom, that's a House of Refuge church we're going to get on the phone with right away if we have a save here in Charlotte from those areas. And we're going to say, hey, to the rep, would you find somebody in your congregation to mentor these moms? And they already have a list of 4 or 5 or 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
They kind of take over from there. And that's the best, right? That they're plugged into a local church, that they're getting discipleship from a local congregant in a local church, and they're going to be surrounded by the love and the help of that local church.
It's so critical. I know I call out all the time to people coming from all over the Southeast to the abortion center here in Charlotte. No matter where you're from, I know we have resources to help you because I know that we either have House of Refuge churches or networks of pastors and people that we know that we can send them to. But by far the best is when we know there's a trained House of Refuge church ready and willing in their area to help them.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, again, trainings for mentors. If you're a House of Refuge rep and you raise up people under you that want to be mentors, you're going to have access to the training that we offer to mentors. And so that's good. Same with foster care and adoption. We have training components with all of these things, and you'll have access to those. If you have people in your congregation that really have a heart for foster care and adoption, that's not just fostering children and adopting children, but that's also supporting families that are fostering and adopting.
Right.
So again, there's training components with that, and you'll have access to all of that stuff as the rep. And then abortion recovery programs. So we have our ministry. We did a podcast episode with Stephanie Reinhardt a couple of months ago, and she runs the abortion recovery ministry called Restored Life. And if your church is a House of Refuge, you'll have a connection with Stephanie and the abortion recovery ministry, so that if there are people, listen, when you read this statement, at the end of that statement, the pastor reads this statement and it talks about if you have abortion in your past, we want to get you connected. There's going to be people that are going to come, either up front or afterwards and share past abortion stories. And some of those people are going to have not gone through an abortion recovery Bible study or something like that, haven't received healing for that.
Yeah.
So that's something you'll find as the rep, people will be coming to you, asking you how to get connected with these different abortion recovery Bible studies and whatnot. And you'll have access to be able to connect them with Stephanie and with abortion recovery Bible studies.
Yeah.
So it seems that churches tend to focus on one of these 4 pillars. You can focus on all 4 of them, but some churches just for some reason, they more gravitate toward the abortion recovery thing, or more of the sidewalk thing, or more of the mentoring thing, or more of the foster care and adoption thing. And so again, we want to do everything we can to facilitate and to encourage whatever area you guys focus on as a church. But these are just sort of, again, the main pillars.
Right. And so, we talked about, in general, the goal is that women would no longer feel the need to run to an abortion center. They will instead be running to the church. And this House of Refuge model, I think, is powerful.
Yeah.
And really what God intended all along. So there's a great psalm there's so many psalms that mention refuge.
Yeah.
I was reading about the cities of refuge just recently, but
Right. Yeah.
but refuge is such a powerful and important part of the the Christian walk and desire for what we provide for others, because we don't provide, but God.
Yeah.
God is our refuge. And probably my favorite one is Psalm 46, verse 1. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we want the church to be, that the church will reflect that truth about God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen. Well, guys, we hope that this was a blessing and an encouragement to you guys. Hope it was informative to you guys. You can certainly reach out to us. You can reach out to me, Daniel, at lovelife.org. You can reach out to her, Vicky, with a Y, at lovelife.org. And we'd love to hear from you about episodes, suggestions for episodes in the future, maybe your feedback on this episode, and any questions that you might have. We'd love to try to help answer any questions. But until next time, God bless.
God bless you all.
Give me an outlet for love. Give me an outlet for gratitude. I know it will cost me my life, but nothing's too precious since I met you.